On this episode, it's our WWE Payback Predictions show, and we also discuss the McMahon situation, Anderson and Gallows' match on Raw, and more now on Byte That. Hey gang, what is going on? Welcome. You are listening to episode 140 of Byte That's weekly wrestling podcast, the place where we break down the latest happenings inside of the WWE. Thanks for tuning in and checking out the show. We are available every single Tuesday night on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and our YouTube channel, which grows day by day. Over 500 individual pieces of video available over at youtube.com/ByteThatCast. We also appreciate your support, you dropping the questions, the comments on everything that we do, including social media, which is Byte That Cast on both Twitter and Facebook. So if you want to join the conversation, you can do that, or also send us an email, bytethatcast@gmail.com. And in this episode, it is our Payback Special. So as always, my name is Juan Velas. I am from San Juan, Puerto Rico. Primo and Epico, still haven't seen them. Apparently, they're in Puerto Rico promoting the hell out of the island, but they've still yet to be here with us. But who is here is Savage Ryan McNulty from Boston, Mass, and Keith, the Mr. M. Poshik from Winnipeg, Manitoba. Guys, you ready? Prediction time. Go home. Show's over.
Let's do it, and let's keep it on. Let's keep it on point here, and remember that it's WWE Payback. You got to keep it on.
Sorry. It's not just WWE. It's WW. That W. That's got to be in there.
And this came up quick too. It feels like we just had a WrestleMania, and we're going into a pay-per-view already. But you know what?
Really? Because to me, it feels like WrestleMania was ages ago.
Yeah, I actually agree.
It was pretty fast for me, but I don't know. Just my personal opinion.
Well, regardless, we had a lot of things that happened on Raw, which we will get to now. Unfortunately, and the last 2 to 3 weeks have been pretty devastating for anybody that's a fan of music, or wrestling, acting as a whole. Prince passed away, for example, but in the world of wrestling, at just 45 years of age, Chyna, who was really a mainstay of the Attitude Era. Chyna obviously didn't have like the best last couple of years. She had some controversial things happen, but she unexpectedly passed away. Apparently, and we're not going to really get to this, but it does seem to be some kind of overdose. That's just what I was able to read before the podcast. Regardless, it's never really good when somebody from the world of wrestling passes away, because it always sheds a negative light on basically the sacrifices that these people have put in their lives. And you see like Balls Mahoney, somebody else that recently passed away, they're not old. Wrestlers don't have this big a shelf life. And I actually had a chance to have a video talking about Chyna on our YouTube channel. But I want to get to you guys, your reaction when you first find out that Chyna passed away.
I mean, I was in shock at first because Chyna is somebody that I legitimately grew up watching, because I was watching that Attitude Era when I was a kid, and all of a sudden learning that she had passed, it actually hit me. So it's very unfortunate, and this might sound a little dark, but I guess not every story has a happy ending, you know, and it's very unfortunate.
Yeah, no, very, very sad. I mean, for years, every once in a while, we've been hearing, something with Chyna, something going on. She, like the way she exited the WWE, it's like she almost really never recovered from that. Like, it's been kind of an uphill battle ever since then. And yeah, like Keith said, it's really sad that she never really got the redemption kind of story she deserved. And like, not even talking, it sounds like I'm talking about a storyline, but just like in her life, she really just like, she deserved to kind of come out of this. And unfortunately, she kind of succumbed to the demons in her life, or I'm not gonna make full speculation because we don't know exactly what happened, but apparently people close to her said she wasn't doing too well in some circumstances. So it is just very, very sad that, because I think everyone would have loved to see her kind of get that comeback moment for WWE, just one kind of feel good moment. And unfortunately, that's never going to happen.
Yeah, that's the sad part of all of this. Much like when Macho Man passed away, it was that regardless of what happened in the past, that door is never gonna close properly, right? There's never gonna be that closure. Chyna was somebody that was pretty vocal about some of the things that, whether they happened or not, she used her YouTube channel as an example for an outlet, talking about Triple H and a lot of situations that, once again, regardless what happened, it's a human being. It's somebody that, for example, when I called my mom soon after, the morning after, she said, like, did you hear that Chyna passed away? And the reason that she cared about it was because she would watch wrestling with me during that time, you know, like Attitude Era / like maybe 2000 more or less, like around that time. Yeah, so it was somebody that was, like, as I mentioned in my video, a pop culture icon, the ninth wonder of the world. There's a reason that she was regarded in she was regarded in such a high real estate. You know, first woman to be in a Royal Rumble match, woman to become an Intercontinental Champion. So Chyna, rest in peace. I hope that whatever comes out of the conclusion of her cause of death be used as a way of helping others, so that fortunately something positive can come out and this doesn't keep happening, because it's got to stop. It's really freaking got to stop. Wrestling is losing way too many people, male or female, to things that are suicide related, overdose, and man, it just should not happen. So let's actually try to, let's raise the spirits a little bit. You never want to start it off like this.
I think we can all safely say that wrestlers are being treated and are just healthier overall more today. I mean, injuries aside, we know all the injuries going on, but overall health, I think wrestlers today are in much better shape than they were, 10 years ago.
Exactly. You hear so many stories about how the business would just chew people up and spit them out, but it seems like it's better these days.
Yeah, so let's hope that all of the changes that happen in the WWE are for the best. And let's actually get to now the story. Let's put on the kayfabe hat. Let's actually talk about the product that we consume on a weekly basis. Before we get to the predictions, we have a couple of key things that maybe aren't exactly a match happening at Payback, but more so stipulations. The first one, which we sort of talked about, a lot of people speculated like this was exactly what was going to happen. I believe Sam Roberts called it in his podcast, where Shane's been in charge for basically a month at this point, and at no point has it been questioned why. So Stephanie McMahon comes back, and then we find out that at Payback, and this is headache inducing. It's been like that for a couple of weeks now for me. Vince McMahon will determine who continues to control Raw, whether it be Stephanie McMahon, who is a legitimate owner of the company, or Shane McMahon, who, may I remind everybody, had a stipulation hit in his WrestleMania match, which he lost. Yet here's another stipulation where, hey, you're apparently in charge, so you can lose yet again. It's not a match, it's just Vince coming out there. But I want to get your feedback with that, starting with Keith, and then what do you think is actually going to happen?
Like you said, Juan, if only they had a match roughly about a month ago that could settle this whole situation with a stipulation, or if only they feuded for months beforehand to prevent this exact thing from happening, maybe this situation would be a lot clearer. But doesn't this feel like it's leading towards this inevitable brand split that we've been talking about for a while? Yeah. Maybe it's like, oh, I can't make up my mind. Damn it, you get Raw and you get SmackDown. And then it goes from there. That's where I kind of feel like it's going. But yeah, just the reasoning, the whole situation, it's a mess. It's a convoluted mess.
Yeah, I'm actually, let's throw WrestleMania aside. I'm not even going to get into that whole aspect of it.
Never happened.
I'm just going to more get into the fact of just how little fanfare and just like hype that this was met with. It was just kind of like, yeah, Vince will make a decision at Payback and that's it. Like there's nothing. I feel like there should be more hype for this. Like who's going to control Raw? It's just like, yeah, Vince is going to make his decision. Like
in the pay-per-view days, this would have been like a ticket seller. This would have been something that they kind of leaned the show on. Like the future of the WWE is being decided at Payback by Vince McMahon.
Do they even have a graphic for it? Like there wasn't even
so.
Yeah, I believe they did put up a graphic at the tail end. I know it's on the website, and I'm pretty sure I saw it on the show.
Yeah, I didn't even think of the whole brand split aspect, but I feel like it's too soon for that.
But honestly, it
makes sense. And why do you think they're calling up so many damn people? You know what I mean?
Exactly. You need to split up that roster. But I'm just going to say right now, please, if the Authority continues to take control of Raw, man, no, don't. Just please don't do that. Take them to SmackDown, dub the audience, do whatever it is you want. I don't really consume a lot of SmackDown aside from the YouTube clips, simply because I don't really have a lot of time. I know many of us share that here. What's surprising to me about this is that it's Shane McMahon, somebody that was gone from WWE for years, and they sort of normalized this so much to the point where, that like I'll just show up at the pay-per-view, let you know if you're in charge or not. This really should be a big deal, but it's treated as a side project. Like, why didn't the roster react to this? Almost like a brand split type thing where why are people being vocal? Like Shane, like he's been great. He's given me opportunities, or Stephanie trying to persuade baby faces. It just felt like something else should have happened, but because it was shoehorned into this one segment, it just seemed really weird.
It just felt like it should have happened weeks ago, so we wouldn't be left asking, okay, why is Shane running Raw this week? Just have Vince come out and say, okay, you're running Raw while I make up my mind. Go nuts. You probably won't be doing it forever.
Yeah, I mean, they're winging it, and it was just very underwhelming. It's like, oh, well, I guess he's going to make a decision. And already I feel like Shane, like, even though, yes, it's nice to have a baby face, GM or whatever you want to call it, I feel like I'm already kind of over Shane, and I hate to sound like smarky.
You say that now.
Yeah.
You say that now.
I don't mean that like I would rather have the Authority, but I feel like Shane's just a little too calm. He's not that good at doing, like, he's not that great being the hype man.
He's toned down a lot.
Yeah. It's way better when he's just in an angle and he's like, he has to, I like him in the Cena spot, needs to overcome the odds type of situation. When he's the underdog, that's when it's really fun to see Shane. When he's just the guy who's making the matches, I'm not as excited about Shane.
I kind of get why maybe his role right now doesn't take over the show as much, why he doesn't have much presence, and that's because he's not the formal person in charge of Raw. It's just like, well, you got this little pet project for a couple weeks, so don't get too warmed up. That chair's going to switch eventually over to Stephanie or Triple H. But yeah, on at Payback, almost at Fastlane, we will find out the fate of Raw, which I believe will, in some form, affect the fate of SmackDown.
Agreed. That or it'll be some third party that's neither Shane nor Stephanie, and it'll be crazy.
Which would not be a bad scenario.
People
but honestly,
power.
Yeah. Well, hey, he's involved with Total Bella. Total Bella's. Hey, you brought it up, man. Okay, so moving on to the topic that people were really looking forward to here. It was announced that on this episode of Raw, April 25th, Karl Anderson and Luke Gallows will be having their first ever match in the WWE against the Usos, which, I mean, poor Usos, because I get it. Anderson and Gallows are supposed to be the bad guys, but you could really tell that crowd just didn't care. And generally speaking, I think the consensus, it's almost like Roman Reigns has affected the Usos in some way. Maybe that's just me.
The Usos did that to themselves. They just don't have anything going for them. I'm sorry.
I was trying to be a little bit nicer, but I guess that there could be a valid argument made about that. But yeah, they had their match. I'll be honest. My concern was not about the match. It was about the theme song. It's so important when you have Shinsuke Nakamura coming out with an awesome theme song. And now what are these guys going to come out to? Because honestly, the entrance is the first impression, right? So if it's something crappy or the outfit and it sort of fails, then that's it. So I want to get your feedback, starting with Mr. Savage first. What did you think of that?
Are you gonna drop the Savage thing anytime soon?
Nope.
All right, fine, fair enough.
Don't worry, Ryan.
Okay, so I didn't like the theme at all. And, sometimes
Really?
the theme can grow on you, like Cesaro's theme. We all love it now. Just kidding. But, yeah. No, I legit thought it was Fozzy. I don't know if it was anyone else.
Yeah, it really sounded like Jericho.
Yeah, I could see that.
And I don't know. I like hearing, at least I've heard I don't know if it's the most recent, but I've heard like the Bullet Club theme, and I just feel like it needs to be more like grungier and grittier. It seems too upbeat. If you remove the vocals, would that change your thoughts about it? I'd have to listen. I haven't listened to it like on YouTube or anything yet. I'm just going what I heard from Raw. Okay. So I'll have to listen and back.
WWE did post the full theme already.
Yeah. I do know that. I just haven't checked it out yet. Definitely lyrics. It's like lyrics. I don't know if it's always good to have right away. I kind of like when you have an instrumental for a while
because they don't want none.
Yeah, and then you throw lyrics on top of it. AJ's is fine. I mean, even AJ's, I'm not convinced about the beginning. It's a little too calm. You know what I mean? But as far as the Bullet Club theme, I just it didn't get me excited for them.
Well, they're not the Bullet Club.
Yeah,
I'm
got
sorry.
I think
Gallows
there's a
and Anderson.
very important distinction there, because that could not be this faction that we all think's going to exist theme.
Yes, they were in a club, according to Michael Cole, though. They have like a new logo,
Probably
right?
a varsity club.
Yeah. Or fraternity, it's possible. But I got to agree. I think that the theme is not the best. If you remove the vocals, I listened to it a couple times today, it gets way better. I like the low points of the theme. Really like the guitar, but something about it is trying to be a little bit too forced on me. But it could be a grower, because once again, if the whole thing didn't work for me, like Cesaro, then another story.
It's a grower, not a shower.
Yeah. So
see, I disagree with you guys completely. I thought it was fine.
That's just because you have bad taste in music, but that's okay.
Oh my goodness, shots.
Honestly, I'm just going to ignore that one. But the problem that I had the most out of that whole thing was Gallows' attire. It looked so bad, in my opinion.
It's a little too much.
Overalls, borderline spandex overalls. I thought it looked really stupid.
I'm not a huge fan of the mask. I almost felt like I was playing Division or something, but I do wish it was a little bit more simplistic. It felt a little bit too forced. I like the jackets. I always like it whenever wrestlers wear white. They don't wear that enough. Usually it's like WrestleMania.
It's a cool color scheme.
In music. Ooh,
I mean, I know black and white is such a simple color scheme, but I like the predominantly white with the black mixed in. I think it looks really cool.
Simple is good sometimes.
So, quick reactions. You guys saw them in action. They got a clean win and a lengthy match. That was not a 5-minute match. And the questionable thing is, aside from the match quality, some people were complaining, hey, the match was too long. This is their debut. They should have squashed the Usos. Yet, I'm just going to play devil's advocate. Whenever we see the other side of the coin, people sort of tend to complain about squash matches because you don't get to show off a lot of maneuvers. It's kind of boring. So I do think that's a little bit weird how people are so nitpicky about that, because I thought it was okay. But what about you guys?
Yeah, it was absolutely fine. That's just a situation where you can't please everybody. And I think they took the way better approach. Like, have them showcase what they can do, who they are. Why should we care about these people instead of just, you could debut anybody, have him squash somebody for a couple of weeks, and then that almost makes them seem like more into the fodder than actually letting them display their skills. So I thought it was a much better approach.
I can see why people would complain. It doesn't really matter to me as much, but I just to kind of go from their, people complaining, their point of view, it's kind of like if you had them squash a couple teams, it kind of just, it lets people establish, like it establishes to people, okay, these guys are a big deal. Like, this is what they do to end a match. It's kind of like those jobber matches are a great way to like establish like finishers and signature moves, so that when they do face like a formidable opponent, it's like they kind of know how to react to it. So,
but a question for you then: with all of the rest of the hype that they have surrounding them, do they need those matches to build them? Because
absolutely.
that story is being written by itself. They don't
100%,
need more
100%
hype.
because it's a lot different than someone like Sami Zayn coming up, because these guys weren't in NXT, no WWE product at all, and not everybody like let's be honest, none of us are watching like New Japan on a regular basis. I'm not saying no.
Yeah, but
you know what I mean?
even us, but we know who they are. We know what they're all about. They don't need to sell them to us.
Well,
yeah, but you have a very broad audience that you have to sell to.
Here's a really good example. A really good friend of mine texted me last night and hated Raw. Like hated, as in turned off the show. And obviously,
what a beautiful world he lives in.
Whoa, but I was actually caught off guard because I generally thought it was a pretty good show. It was solid, right? Not amazing, but we got some good matches. We got some, good segments, which we'll get to overall. But when I asked him why, it was the overloading of new talent. This is somebody that watches Raw and watches the pay-per-views, right? So he doesn't watch NXT. He didn't know who AJ Styles was, for context, right? So we always think, well, the world has to know who AJ is, right? He's a guy that's been watching wrestling for over a decade. Had no idea who AJ was, so let alone these two guys. And he didn't think they were believable at all. The backstage segment where they were sort of like talking a little bit with AJ, he thought that seemed a little bit cartoony. So it's actually really cool to hear that from somebody that doesn't have any of that information. Like, why is the crowd chanting Bullet Club? So it's a nice palate cleanse to remind us not everybody makes wrestling part of their routine. Some people
and not
just watch
everyone
Raw.
knows everything. Like the people, like us who go on in everything. You know what I'm saying here. We're not trying to say we know everything, but there's people who just watch Raw and don't look anywhere else, and they are still a considerable part of the audience, and you have to look out for them.
True enough. All right, I see your point.
We're not as much of the majority as we think we are.
No, vocal minority.
Yes, vocal minority indeed. And now, let's sort of... this is weird, right? Because all of a sudden, there was a show in Massachusetts, which somebody was not able to go to. You don't have to justify, Ryan. You're not Devon, okay? So don't justify or anything. But
that's testify.
Yeah, I know, but I sometimes say justify. So go along with this, Keith.
No. Ryan pissed me off, so now I'm just going to be a whiny, moody bitch.
Yeah. Like always? Oh, my goodness.
Always.
Okay, now I'm taking shots. It's getting nasty in here. But, so... There was an NXT house show which was televised. It was recorded for television. So this match will air on NXT tomorrow. Remember, we record Tuesday night. Finn Balor lost the NXT Championship to Samoa Joe. Now, afterwards, he was going on their bus, like their touring bus thing. He tells the fans to go silent for a little bit and says, "I'll see you all on Monday." Finn is like the biggest troll in the last 5 years. He loves doing this stuff, and people keep
falling for it. He must have had a conversation with Jericho or something at some point.
So, like, my first thought is, that's not happening. There's no way. He is doing that because whatever he's going to do, he's going to be a bad guy. Like, that is pretty much a guarantee, at least for me. But I want to get your feedback regarding this because totally off guard, right? The NXT Championship is not something that changes hands multiple times. Like, we can count how many champions there have been because each one has the title for months upon months.
I legitimately just looked at every single NXT champion, and every single one of them got called up very soon after they lost it, or they got called up just before they lost it. So yes, it's pretty likely that Finn Balor is coming to the roster very, very soon, because just go and look at the list of champions and you'll see every single one of them is on the main roster now, and they all came. I mean, the only exception is Sami Zayn, and he was supposed to come up.
Exactly.
Like, right around the challenge. I mean, he probably was the one that waited the longest after losing the title, but even then it wasn't that far along.
Exactly. And it's crazy that it changed hands at a house show as well, even if it is supposed to be a televised event.
Yeah, why didn't they just do it at Dallas? Who knows?
Yeah, because I think there is a legit reason for that, and that is because they want to, like, Finn is one of their biggest stars, right? So don't have Finn lose on like a pay-per-view or a network special, as they call them. Have him just lose out of nowhere and then just go right up.
And then I
think
guess
makes
that
more
helps
sense.
Sell house show tickets, because then anything
that is true,
can happen.
Because
Yeah.
anything can happen. I think it's a weird stat, but I think as far as world titles go, it's the first time a world title changed hands in the WWE since like Kevin Nash and Bob Backlund at a house show back in the day, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, it's awesome. And I've said for a while, I want to see Samoa Joe as champion because I freaking love Samoa Joe. And if real convenient timing considering Payback is this Sunday.
Yep, Samoa Joe is champion, but everybody's talking about Finn Balor.
But it's good, though. You're going to get eyeballs on this week's NXT because you already know the conclusion, right? It's a matter of, well, what happens now? Are they going to add something in? Is that going to be it? Now that he's there, what are the commentators going to say for that matter? Are they going to hint? Finn's been really silent ever since Gallows and Anderson made their Raw debut. So, I mean, anything can really happen. For all that we know, hypothetically, there could be an event where Finn's not even part of the Balor Club, or I mean, not the Balor Club, but whatever name. This needs a name. Like, the fact that we keep Gallows and Anderson is a really long thing to say, right? So I'm hoping,
absolutely.
Although they did have a thing, and somebody pointed out that said GB for life. So it's either the Gathering, so maybe they're part of the Gathering, or they're fans of Giant Bomb. That's a possibility, but maybe something related to GB. I don't know, but apparently
Game
that
Boy.
was somewhere. Hey, maybe Reggie Fils-Aimé sent these guys in here. Nintendo could use some support.
You know, maybe they really like the town Green Bay.
Wisconsin. Yeah. Anything is possible in WWE, and as we will get to the predictions for the main event at WWE Payback, thank you, Keith, it's
there you go.
It's going to be something that, whether you like the ending or not, you're going to keep tuned in. You're going to wait for either the lights to go out or the crowd to be looking to the side because somebody's about to make their way out. Something has got to happen.
Or just Roman Reigns wins and the little thing comes up in the corner and we all cry and complain online.
Yep.
I really hope that doesn't happen, but it is completely plausible. Now, getting to another topic before predictions time, just a little quick update regarding John Cena. He's coming back Memorial Day. So, I mean, like,
is there
what else can I
anything
really
more
say?
patriotic, except maybe if it was the 4th of July?
No,
National
probably
Cena Day.
not.
So,
Yeah.
like, Cena, I mean, like,
Yeah.
what can I really say at this point that hasn't been said about John Cena? His last run was ended abruptly because of an injury. So, I don't know. Like, what does he come back to?
Maybe we get the John Cena versus Roman future we all fear.
Oh my God.
Or they just, between him and Roman, just run a train on all this talent that they've been building up.
Yeah, I mean, Cena, there's quite a few new faces. We don't really have any heels, so what is he, just going to go through the League of Nations or something?
Well,
maybe.
As far as I'm concerned, didn't the League of Nations end?
Oh my God, that's something we didn't even have in the agenda. Although that may be a good
There's
thing.
good
Well, they were
reason
like,
for
yeah,
that.
reports were saying League of Nations is done or whatever on the European tour, and everyone kind of came out separately this week, but they still were saying League of Nations member. So
That was
Yeah.
confusing.
yeah, whatever. They're all but done anyway, right?
They were done when they actually came together to begin with.
Yeah, so I mean, what does Cena actually do? Probably, I'm really guessing he's gonna warm up by just beating the crap out of League of Nations because
Yeah,
he's gonna want revenge
really,
against Del Rio or something.
The United States title isn't doing much these days, and that's a bummer to say.
He just goes to Kalisto like, Kalisto, we're not even wrestling. Just give me the title.
Yeah.
Just give me the title.
Okay, Senior Juan.
Mira, este cabrón hablando ahí como si sabe lo que está diciendo, huele bicho. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, before getting to the payback predictions, I will not translate what I just said. It was beautiful things. We want to remind you that we do have this lovely, magical, unicorn, but not VR supported channel known as the Byte That Wrestling channel on YouTube. And in there, we got a couple cool things. We have the podcast happening every week. We have Fight Night. We have a supercard video that went up over the weekend where we sort of talk about it. Why are we so addicted to it? I know we're drying out a little bit because it's getting really grindy to play supercards. So it's kind of funny how you're in love with it, but then you're not. But at the same time, isn't that the nature of mobile games to begin with?
Yeah. Yep. Pretty much. They want to get you addicted for a couple weeks so you spend a ton of money. But you know, it's certain, like the team events definitely help.
Yeah, and anytime you dry out is not a good time.
It is never a good time. So get some body lotion for that, Keith. And there's going to be a lot of more cool stuff happening. Just to tease, we are going to have worst storylines in wrestling history, part 2. It's going to be happening. A lot of you guys really enjoyed the first part where we talk about some of the really bad ones. The first one included Al Wilson. The second one will include Faye Kane, among a variety of other terrible, horrible storylines. Something else happening pretty soon is that Ryan did the Defeat the Streak mode on 2K14. I'm actually going to be doing that pretty soon also, seeing if I can do a little bit better than he can. So I'm hoping to, and I can, and I will.
See if you can beat my score.
We'll see what happens.
I'll have to go back and look at what the hell it was.
We'll find out pretty soon. And this is just a tease, people. If you're a fan of Fight Night, if you're a fan of wrestling video games, and you like interacting with us, we're just going to throw this out there. There may be a special extra lengthy stream happening in May related to Fight Night. So that is our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Byte That. It's not active right now, but for that day, it may be a Friday. But maybe next week we can go into a little bit more details once the logistics are filed out. But it's going to be a chance for all of you guys to really, instead of just commenting on YouTube, you can live chat and hang out with each other. Okay, so Payback is happening this Sunday. Everybody listening, feel free to give us your predictions for the pay-per-view on Twitter, ByteThatCast. If you're listening to us through YouTube, just drop a comment. Let's see, like, sort of how similar or how different our predictions are. The first match we're going to get to is actually a pre-show match. So the master of the pre-show, the current reigning and defending United States champion, defends the title against Ryback. Now, guys, I believe this happened before. In a pre-show, as a matter of fact.
Probably not many people saw it, so it's like a new match.
True. So let's do the format with each match. Ryan, Keith, and myself. Who's going to win?
All right, so I gotta say, I love the build-up for this feud where Ryback just straight up wasn't on Raw the entire month. I thought that was a great choice for this feud. There's so much heat going into this fight. Kalisto. I guess Kalisto's gonna win. I can't believe this just got... Maybe there was some build on SmackDown, but I didn't see it.
Yeah, I mean, as somebody that was looking forward to their first match and was severely let down, it's hard for me to care about this one, so I'm with Ryan and Kalisto, I guess. Maybe Ryback wins it, and that's who John Cena beats for the U.S. Championship when he comes back, but other than that, yeah.
That's a strong possibility. I think it'd be weird for just the bad guy and the guy overall to just win the title at a pre-show like this with no build-up, so I think that the person coming out the winner is going to be the champion Kalisto, and please... do something with the guy. Anything. Just something. Moving on, we have a singles match. Dolph Ziggler battles the Lone Wolf and former NXT superstar, Baron Corbin.
Obviously, they don't want to have Baron Corbin lose his first pay-per-view outing. Potential to be a pretty good match. Baron Corbin definitely going to win.
Agreed. Probably a pretty good match. I don't think Ziggler has a hope in hell, so Corbin.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really nice match. It's different from the different opponents that Corbin has had in NXT. And I think that Ziggler, as I mentioned when he first battled Corbin in the storyline, he's the perfect guy to battle Corbin because of the fact that he oversells everything. It's going to make Corbin seem that much more menacing. But yeah, no doubt about it. Baron Corbin wins, so he's going to lose somehow at this point now. Up next, tag team match to determine the number one contenders for the WWE World Tag Team Championships. Enzo Amore and Big Cass battle the Vaudevillains, Aiden English and Simon Gotch.
I think the Vaudevillains are definitely going to win here because you want to put up a heel team against the babyface New Day. And then you also get the Dudley Boys could probably interfere and continue that feud with Enzo and Cass.
Yep, I agree with you, Ryan. I think it's just don't give people Enzo and Cass and the New Day right away. You kind of gave them that little bit of a tease on Raw when they were both in the ring. But yeah, continue the Dudley Boys feud because that was awesome in its own right. And have the Vaudevillains challenge for the titles.
I love how Enzo and Cass can just never get it. Even in NXT, how many title opportunities they have, but they lose them. And now here's the chance where it does make sense. New Day and Enzo and Cass, like, yeah, make that happen. But true. Like, if you have that happen right now, and it seems hypocritical because everybody thought that the reason they didn't win the NXT tag titles was because this was going to happen. I think the Vaudevillains need to be a little bit more developed, and winning this will help because otherwise they are going to become the next Ascension. Guaranteed.
Yeah, exactly. Enzo and Cass don't need the help. And also make us really want it when they actually win it, you know? Because, I mean, obviously, if they had won it in NXT, it would have been huge because they had failed so many times. So do the same thing in WWE for them. And yeah, like you said, Vaudevillains are going to need a lot more strong wins to be established over Enzo and Cass, who can carry themselves fine on the mic.
Yeah, really, really true, man. So the next match now, singles match for the WWE Women's Championship. Charlotte defends with Ric Flair by her side as she battles Natalya with her Uncle Bret in the corner.
0 F's given Bret Hart, who just doesn't even want to be there, which is hilarious. I love it. I love it, Maggle. I love it when a person doesn't want to be there.
He's Natalya, just like taking selfies and texting the whole match.
It's nice that Natalya's getting a pay-per-view match for the title, but she doesn't have a chance in hell. Charlotte will retain.
I mean, if you don't have any match ideas, just go back, look at NXT matches about a year ago, and just use one of those, I guess, for this match, because this is literally something that happened. Yeah, they literally on
Control X, Control V onto Payback.
Control C, Ryan. You said X.
No, Control X is cut.
Oh, okay. Well, I prefer copying. I don't know. Just cutting feels weird to me.
You need more commitment in your life. Yeah, more commitment in your life. But yeah, I see this as kind of a layover feud for Charlotte. I don't think Natalya has a chance at winning. It's cool that Natalya is getting this run, but at the same time, it feels kind of crappy that just Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch have been nowhere to be found since their WrestleMania
Lynch was
match.
Supposed to have a feud with Emma, but did they just give up on it?
They
I guess
took to online videos and things like that, which is weird. Like, not so much for Becky, but Sasha just kind of disappeared, because you want to keep the spotlight on Natalya. So, like, the moment you have Sasha Banks show up, she's going to completely steal the spotlight from Natalya. But how do you just make her disappear and she magically comes back now? Whatever the case, yeah, Charlotte has got to win. No doubt about that. The next match, possibly the match I am looking forward to the most. Sami Zayn battles Kevin Owens. Former friends, bitter enemies.
Sami Zayn is the newcomer, so he probably needs the win more, although I don't think it it could go either way, and that's kind of the beauty of this match. Is I'm not going to be disappointed. I'm just looking forward to this match being amazing. So please, please, please give it time. All you need to do to make this match fantastic is just give these guys time, and it'll be the best match on the card. So I'm pulling for Sami Zayn. So this is one where it's like there's not really the I'm going to pick with my heart versus my brain. It's just picking with the heart, and I'll say Sami Zayn.
I agree with your assessment where all you need to do is give this match time. I mean, I've said for a while that I hope that they wouldn't just rush into this match, and they did, but as long as they do it right, then I guess it's okay. As far as who I think will win, I honestly hope that Kevin Owens wins this one, because you can kind of get a double positive with Kevin Owens winning, where Owens looks strong, like, I beat you, Sami Zayn, even if he uses like cheap tactics, and you could still have Zayn as the underdog. Like maybe Owens doesn't win cleanly, but I think Owens still wins.
It better be DQ, because this is the rivalry I'm looking forward to the most this year. And unless it's like a cheap thing where it's like a roll-up, I would prefer that they get counted out. Something that they get so involved, kind of like Ziggler and Corbin, I guess, where they just stop caring and they keep going. Like the match ends in a DQ, but they keep just fighting for like the next 5 to 6 minutes. Keep building it up all the way to SummerSlam. And I think you got some money in there. If it's not a DQ, then I think Kevin Owens actually has to get the victory over here. I'm going to say the bad guy gets the W. Now, in another storyline that's a little bit personal, you have Dean Ambrose on one side, you have Y2J on the other one. It is a singles match, and now we predict.
Dean Ambrose, I really want to win this match because Ambrose needs some good, strong wins. I don't even know how much a win over Chris Jericho even means nowadays, and I mean that as no disrespect to Jericho, but it's just kind of the reality of things. So yeah, Ambrose I think really needs to win here because he needs to recover some momentum after that super disappointing Brock Lesnar feud.
You know, I just can't find it in me to care about this match. I just don't care.
You don't want none?
I really don't want none of this match, but I do agree that if somebody's going to win it, it should be Ambrose. Just give him a little bit of momentum.
I got to agree with Keith. How crazy is it that before WrestleMania, we all said, if you replace Reigns with Ambrose, it's going to be cool. And Dean Ambrose went from that to feuding with Jericho. And I get your point, Ryan. Like, we really do mean no offense to Jericho, but at this point, it feels like Jericho can try to be the biggest bad guy or something, but I guess it's really, as fans that have been watched, we've seen all of Jericho's characters, really, if you think about it, in WWE, that were just oversaturated by Jericho, regardless of how bad or good he is.
Is he becoming like Kane and Big Show levels?
Honestly, I think so. At least for me.
I mean, he's not. Obviously, he's not quite at that. Like, we're that tired of you, because Jericho definitely, Jericho still has a ton of value, right? One thing you got to give Jericho though is he's a guy who a lot of people love, but when he's a bad guy, he gets everyone to boo him.
Yes,
let's give him that.
Yeah,
I agree. Jericho's good, but I think it comes down to Jericho makes good television, but do you really care about who Jericho's making television with?
Exactly. Like when he battled Fandango, everybody knew the deal. Okay, I get it. So new guy, so then like you're feuding with him. With Ambrose, you're feuding with him, you're gonna lose, and then you're gonna be upset, and then you're either gonna move on or disappear for a little bit, or you're just gonna carry on with this feud. Like Jericho is a formula. Now, because he's not a part-time guy, but when he's in there, you're always thinking, until how long? Okay, at what point does he cross this thing off the list?
And then now he's going to put over a younger talent or whatever. And it's like, he's doing God's work. But at this point,
God. He is the Liam Neeson of the WWE. This is Taken 3. It's like, we enjoy the story, man, but we get it. Like, she keeps getting...
maybe at some point, he's just a bad father.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, But hey, maybe when he leaves, that's taken for granted.
Wow. Which reminds me somehow, I need to watch that Countdown movie starring Kane and Ziggler. I haven't seen that yet, and I don't know if I should.
I'm watching that
but...
this weekend. Rusev with a gun? Come on.
Yes. Okay, we got to talk about that. I'm going to commit to at some point watching that. Here we go. Next match for the Intercontinental Championship, and I know there's going to be a pause in this one. It is The Miz with Maurice defending against Cesaro. I'm just gonna address the situation. The promo on Raw, regardless of the outcome of the match here, just talking about this for a little bit. Cesaro just does not look comfortable talking. And this was probably the worst example.
Or the best example of him not looking comfortable talking.
True.
Yeah. Cesaro, it's like, oh, you want to be into the segments, but it gets very awkward, and I feel bad. It's like, it'd probably be better if he just didn't talk, but it's like, then again, he can improve. There's always room for improvement. It's just, it is, it's a little tough to get through, but it's like everything else about Cesaro, I feel like is working well, except for the theme, the mic skills and the theme. But
exactly,
I guess, I mean, I don't know, if he keeps trying, hopefully he'll get better, because the presentation, the entrance, nobody's going to question his in-ring work. It's all there. Just change the theme, get a little bit better on the mic, and this guy is money.
All that being said, though, I think Cesaro has vastly improved since he's returned. It's just not quite there yet, but everything else about Cesaro is great that I'm personally willing to look past it. The entrance is incredible. Like you said, you can't question his in-ring work at all. I mean, who else can do that in a suit? Let's be real here. So, Cesaro, great.
Yeah, I agree. I think that he's developed presence that he didn't have before. Before, the match was cool, but now the entrance. I love the fact that he actually pointed the microphone during the entrance like it was the James Bond gun.
Yeah, that was like so great.
Yeah, little things like that. I think the problem was actually that he's in a feud with The Miz, who is so comfortable speaking that there's such a big contrast. Like, Miz was taking shots at him, and the way Cesaro fired back, I just felt a little bit like, the Miz is right.
Yeah, the babyface has to end up outshining, the heel on the mic. He has to kind of embarrass him or whatever. But when the Miz's delivery is just so much better, it doesn't help Cesaro's case. Oh, anyway, and as far as picking who's going to win this match, I think The Miz retains. The Miz will probably cheat to win. Maurice will assist.
Agreed. I think that The Miz will win this one. I don't think that this is the end of the Miz-Cesaro feud. I think we might even see this for a couple more pay-per-views, but The Miz will definitely retain this one.
Part of me wants to agree with you guys, but I think the idea of The Miz trying to chase the title with Maurice is kind of fun, so I may actually go with Cesaro, simply because every other match we're saying retain. So I think that at some point they got to switch something up, right? It wouldn't be the first time WWE has a full pay-per-view without a title changing hands, but if a title...
Yeah, it's almost like they're going to switch up the whole direction of the company or something during this show.
You would hope so.
Yeah.
So Vince, get to it. What's it going to be? Shane or Vince? Shane or Stephanie? It better be between those two. Yeah.
I'm going to say that, all right, my prediction is I don't think they're doing the brand split. I think Vince is going to, this is going to be like an announcement of an announcement. They're going the Blizzard route where Vince is going to say, I can't make up my mind. So basically, because if they just give control to Shane, right, it's like, okay, the authority just kind of goes out with a whimper. They got to go out with a bang. So I think this is going to lead to something where it's basically a match with the authority on the line. So somebody can actually get a victory that ends the authority. So some announcement that leads to that.
To go the Blizzard route, that the brand split will be coming soon, trademark. But I think it's either going to be a brand split or at least something starting a storyline that leads towards a brand split, or just shake it up and then have a third party come in. I don't know who the hell that would be, but
Bret
make
Hart,
it crazy.
he clearly wants to be there.
Yeah, make it like Stone Cold Steve Austin or something.
Going the Blizzard route, what if they just said, hey, go back to 2 hours? And they said, no, you don't want to go back to that. You don't want to see
You
that.
want it, but you don't.
You think you want it. You think you want the Attitude Era, but you don't.
You really don't. Yeah, I think it is going to be the brand split. As much as I don't want to say it, I don't think it'll be when it happens.
That was amazing, by the way. Well done.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
You know, it's actually, to pause for a minute, if anyone doesn't know what we're talking about, the game World of Warcraft, they had this private server that basically was the game of what it used to be. And Blizzard came in, the owners of the original World of Warcraft game or whatever, they shut down that private server and they've denied like wanting to support or whatever. But there's a lot of parallels between that in WWE, where people talk about the heyday of the Attitude Era and how much greater it was back then. And there actually might be more merit to the you think you want it but you don't for WWE than there is to World of Warcraft.
It's like if the WWE network wasn't run by the WWE, it would be our Nostalrius.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, there's some parallels there. Everyone, nostalgia is a powerful thing.
It really is. It really, really is. But let's get to the main event now. This is where things could get either sexy or horrible. Sexy. AJ's hair. AJ's hair
There's
is
no
made
chill.
for a shampoo commercial. Like that thing is beautiful. Although it doesn't fit him at all. But
by the way, can we talk about that backstage segment before the main event last night, where AJ was just like, "I'm taking that title," and then there was nothing. There was a pause, and then Roman Reigns was just like, "Oh, your boys are gonna be sitting in the front row" or something like that. I don't know what he said. Like, I don't even know what he said. And then there was another awkward pause, and then it was just over. Like, what the hell was that?
There were many awkward segments in this episode, which I enjoyed. Sometimes awkwardness is good. Not for the storyline, but you kind of want to laugh at it. But regardless, Roman Reigns defends the WWE World Championship against AJ Styles.
No doubt that Roman Reigns will retain. Let's just get that out of the way. Now, the real question is, what the hell's going to happen? Is Roman Reigns going to have Gallows and Anderson join him? Is Finn Balor going to show up and cost AJ the match and then Gallows and Anderson join him? Is AJ going to turn heel and somehow win the title, although probably not, and he's officially backed by Gallows and Anderson? There's a ton of outcomes, and I'm going to go with the absolute most boring one, in that Roman Reigns is just going to retain. And no Finn Balor, none of that. We're all going to be sad. You're all going to complain on the Squared Circle post payback thread, and I'll see you guys on Twitter when we're all disappointed.
Indeed. I think this match, it's not about who, it's about how. And I do agree that the how is probably going to be more disappointing than people. It's going to be disappointing compared to people's expectations. I don't think we're going to see Finn just yet. I think it's just going to be a simple case of Anderson and Gallows cost AJ the match. Roman doesn't realize it. Roman gets the pin. 1, 2, 3, title card, end show. And Roman Reigns retains.
Roman has to win. But the whole conversation about Finn Balor really is intriguing. I do think there's a merit to this whole. Does Gallows and Anderson, do they team up with Reigns? I don't think so. But at the same time, do they just pair up with AJ? But then what happens? Like, right? It doesn't feel like a takeover. It just feels like just 3 guys together. And what would that make AJ, for that matter? Would AJ become a bad guy then? Like, so many things.
Yeah, they can't make AJ a bad guy. And sorry to interrupt, but this might sound a little strange, but it really makes sense. It's weird. Last week they really positioned Reigns as almost a heel, but this week it was like it was night and day. They ran that whole like video package with the Make-A-Wish and all that. And, obviously, that's fine, whatever. But it's like everyone in WWE does make a wish. But when they're showing those videos and stuff of Roman Reigns and all that, they're clearly trying to position him as like, this is, he's the next guy. That's what they did with John Cena. So I don't think
he's not a good guy.
Yeah.
He's not a bad guy.
We almost went a whole episode without saying that.
Yeah. But clearly, they wouldn't show stuff like that if he was going to turn heel, right?
Exactly.
So that's just kind of the point I was trying to make.
It's so tough, but regardless, I do think it's going to be a really good match. Just a quick feedback there. From a match, like forget about the outcome, all of that. Do you see this as a match that at the end of the year you can think back and think, hey, this is something worth looking back at?
It's probably going to be good. I don't know if it's going to be like match of the year candidate.
No, I agree. Honestly, I don't think this match is going to turn out well because all of AJ's matches so far have been very awkward, very clunky. And that's against in the ring with people like Jericho. If he has to kind of work with Reigns here, I don't think, like, if AJ's the one carrying this match, then I don't see it going well.
That to say all of them were clunky is a very, very strong thing to say. I think every one of his matches with Jericho was clunky, but his match with Sami Zayn was out of this world. It was amazing.
You know what?
So
that's true.
I think if AJ's
but
working
Sami
with
Zayn, Roman Reigns is not.
yeah, and it might just be that part of AJ's style is it's kind of demanding on the other wrestler to kind of go with the moves and stuff. So if someone, isn't as smooth or, is getting up there in age, it might be harder for it to be, a very finesse type of match. But yeah, Roman Reigns, he's a young guy or whatever. I think the match will be fine. I just don't think it's going to be like a 5-star classic.
Yeah, it's going to be an enjoyable match. I hope the audience is really invested because there's a good chance that they're going to be anti-Reigns and neutral on AJ, and that's not going to be too fun for me. So hopefully we come back here next week, and we're all super excited, and Raw had something crazy happen, and we're freaking out about it, and we're talking about it here. So, ladies and gentlemen, as always, it is now time to bring up your questions. You can send them on Twitter by ThatCast with the hashtag AskBT. If you're listening to us on YouTube, just drop a comment or send us an email by thatcast@gmail.com. Now, as the podcast continues to grow, we've said this a couple times here, it's difficult to sometimes get all of the questions in, so sometimes we try to either pair them up, so if they're similar, we will credit 2 to 3 people, but sometimes we can't get to that. However, though, if you guys would be interested in us forming some kind of YouTube or maybe even RSS feed, iTunes, etc., extra, where we have a Q&A video, like a shorter thing here with some of your questions, let us know, and we may be doing that every now and then just to make sure that you guys are part of the conversation. You guys are hanging out with us and talking about that wrestling. So without further ado, Mr. Keith P. Schick.
Yes?
Take it away. P. Schick.
I've actually never heard that one before, but nonetheless, our first question we're going to credit to a couple of people. We actually got asked this a lot this week. So the first question is from Matthew D, Gene Demand 94, and Hernan G. They ask, with the AJ Roman Bullet Club angle, we need to stop calling it the Bullet Club, guys. Are we going to see the formation of the Shield 2.0? Everyone is expecting AJ to side with the newcomers, but what if it's Roman who gets Anderson and Gallows by his side, and they turn on AJ? It could solidify Roman as a heel, AJ as a face, and introduce loads of options for faces to feud with the new top heel stable. For instance, Dean could go after the title against his former brother, Finn could debut as a face, Rollins could return as a face, plus the New Day could get a real heel challenge from Gallows and Anderson. What do you guys think?
I think, as we discussed earlier, a heel turn for Roman Reigns now just looks less and less likely. Also, if Gallows and Anderson join Roman, it kind of muddies up the waters with the whole Usos thing. Like, what do you do there? I mean, I guess they're already feuding, but is Roman just going to deny the Usos now? It doesn't really make a ton of sense. If anything's going to happen, it's A, AJ's going to stay face, B, Roman's going to stay face, and C, Finn Balor is probably going to join Gallows and Anderson. That seems like the most likely scenario.
I think that if AJ had bigger fanfare, and when I say bigger fanfare, like I mentioned earlier with my friend who didn't really know who he was, if AJ had like that momentum, that near Cena-esque or near Reigns recognition, I think that would be really good. And you could do the whole Roman Reigns turns heel, and you have that stable because you already had the Shield music to begin with after the Shield broke up, so you can have a lot of things, right? So when Rollins comes back, do Rollins and Ambrose team up with maybe AJ and form something here? But because at some point Finn Balor has to be integrated into this, I don't think it's time for Reigns to be heel. I really do think he's going to be the guy. It's going to be AJ Styles over here as the clear-cut babyface. It's going to be Finn Balor and the Balor Club on this side, which I honestly don't know how they're going to get booed. That's another conversation. And then you have Roman Reigns in the middle reminding you, like, I'm supposed to be the guy. So he's actually foretelling what's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't have much to add to that. I both think those are very valid points. And like Ryan said, it's going to be coming the end of Payback. You're going to see Roman as a face, AJ as a face, and then Anderson and Gallows and whatever that group becomes as the heel. So thank you for the question. Our next one comes in from NKBE1324, who asks, is there anyone who rose to the top as quickly as AJ Styles has?
If it's WWE, Goldberg is probably a good option, and Lesnar, obviously. But with those two guys, you know, when you have that physical presence.
With Goldberg, yes, but I was thinking about it with Brock, and the answer is no, because it took Brock longer to be in a title match. Like, AJ's only been around since the Royal Rumble, and he's already in a title match. Brock was around since the night after WrestleMania, and he didn't really get that match till SummerSlam.
But plain devil's advocate, he went into the match with The Rock at the 2002 SummerSlam as a bad guy, and The Rock was The Rock, like the biggest name. And in that match, there was no way that Brock was getting booed. Brock was the ultimate babyface, and people did not care about The Rock. So in about less than a year, he went from being the new guy in the company to being the guy in the company and beating The Rock cleanly and everybody being okay with it.
Do you ever get tired of playing devil's advocate? Do you ever think about trying a new game or something? Just saying, you've been playing it a lot. But anyway, see,
you're just salty today.
Yeah, maybe I am. I don't know what's gone into me, but
who's the pepper?
So, all right, let's be real here. AJ's top spot here is not really a top spot. This is kind of like a not permanent thing. He's just kind of
he's a sacrifice.
Yeah, sort of. The sacrificial lamb to Roman Reigns. He's gonna kind of fall back down the card. That doesn't mean that he's not still an important part of the show, but this isn't solidifying him as like one of the top guys. He's just getting his shot at the title. Think about it. Ryback faced John Cena for the title. Is he a top guy? No. And sadly, it's closer to this than something like Brock Lesnar going for the title, you know? So it's really just like he's getting a one-off pay-per-view to go for the title, which does help build him more, but it doesn't mean he's a top guy yet.
Agreed. AJ has definitely shot up the card very fast, where he is in that upper echelon, but he's not a top guy in the same way that Brock was, the same way Goldberg was. Ryback is an interesting example because it feels like Ryback got shot right to the top, but he was doing squash matches for a very long time before Ryback really did anything of note. Easy to forget that.
And I was actually referring, and you made me realize the whole CM Punk Hell in a Cell thing. I was actually even just talking about like when he feuded with John Cena after WrestleMania too. That was another instance where it's like you bring him up for a title thing and then you bring him down. I mean, even look at Sheamus. Sheamus was champion and he's still not a top guy. You know, they shot him up for that, the Money in the Bank thing, and he's right back down the card.
Let's bring up a quick example from the Attitude Era. Chris Jericho. Like, who's this guy coming from WCW? Comes in, has a segment with The Rock. Once again, the guy. A couple months later, that career was not exactly at the top. He was down there with, oddly enough, a rivalry with Chyna, for example. A lot of different storylines that were not at the caliber that some people thought he would be at, considering he made his debut with The Rock.
Exactly. And that situation is totally going to happen to AJ. I don't think there's much question about it.
It's part of it. It happened with Kevin Owens, for that matter.
Exactly. It's part of debuting in the WWE. You got to work your way up. But thank you for the question. Our next one comes in from the Cynical Cypher, who asks, in a scenario where you're forced to face one superstar individually, who do you face and why? Or let's say one-on-one match, you and X in the ring opposed to each other. Who do you fight?
Well, considering we can call them superstars now, I'm going to choose Paige. And I all think you know why.
Gotta get that bear hug, baby.
Interesting. I almost want you to go into details,
Loophole,
but then again,
bitches.
I don't.
Loophole.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to say Mick Foley is a really
Why? Because he can barely walk?
No, but just
or because he'd kill you.
Well, partially option B.
Do you really want barbed wire and all that?
Honestly, hey, I can't wrestle. You know, I've gotten inside a ring. I've trained, but I'm not a wrestler, so might as well get some blood, get some color in there going, get a memorable moment, go to the hospital. I'll look badass with like a really cool
You've never been
scar.
around barbed wire, have you? Because boy, does that stuff hurt.
No, but hey, if it means I get to wrestle Mick Foley, then, you know, why not? I'll regret
I think after that match, you're like, that was a terrible decision.
Yeah, that was a terrible idea.
terrible idea, but I did
I hope you got health insurance. My answer is simple. Simon Dean. Our match will turn into a fitness session. I'll get a good workout in. He'll show me the Simon system. I'm going to let you think about that.
He'll show you the Simon system.
Whoa.
And then all will be well.
That
Have some
Simon
pudding.
system, though.
What? What did you say, Ryan? Yeah, exactly. Have some Simon pudding. Thank you for the question. Our next one.
Hold on. I feel the need to explain this. Way back when there was this web page that had all these weird rumors about wrestlers, and there was a whole list of them, and some of them were just terrible, horrible things. But there was one that in particular that was just Simon Dean likes the feeling of pudding. And that was it. There was no other explanation. It was just like, take that for what it's worth. I wasn't sure if you guys remembered that. So, yeah.
No, I didn't. So thank you for reminding me. I will never get that image out of my head again. But nonetheless, our next question, I'm going to direct it towards you, Ryan, because you're a very salty Sally today. It comes from Adam V, who asks, when will you fire Keith? Me. When will you fire me, Ryan? When are you going to do it? I have a bad taste in music. I have a bad taste in music. Maybe I don't deserve to be here. When are you going to fire me?
I don't think that's my decision. That's up to the Byte that executives. But the hashtag Fire Keith movement, we've seen it. But I think more importantly, it's in regards to a little show we do called Fight Night. And there's a lot of controversy with how you run Fight Night. So I can see where people would be crying out for that. But hey, I just commentate the show. It's not up to me. You're the GM, and I respect that.
You are a terrible human being, though.
Ryan, the night is always darkest before the dawn, and the dawn is coming. Thank you for the question. Our next one comes in.
One doesn't even get to say anything?
Nope.
Okay.
Only Salty Sally gets to answer this one. So our next question comes from True Miami Heat fan, who asks, how do you guys feel about Naomi? Seems like a nice person.
I think she's talented. She's very talented in the ring, and she's just kind of sadly overshadowed by all the other like NXT talent that's come in. I think she deserves her due, but it's like it's going to be tough because I feel like they just want to get to, Charlotte, Becky, and Sasha. They're going to build a division around those three, and sadly Naomi's just kind of get left in the dust.
I think it's that she was improving just when the NXT divas came up, the NXT superstars came up, and it just became like, you're good, but they're better, or at least they have that hype, right? Like Naomi was in there as a Funkadactyl, and a lot of people now forget that. So
you still got to be real careful how you say that.
Yeah, Funkadactyl. Funk is on a roll, and she was part of that. And I think that as much as she has improved, I don't see WWE giving her more of a spotlight, sadly. I do think that she should get at least an opportunity. She did get that after Tons of Funk came to a close, because Tons of Funk, I'm looking at Keith now, because she showed off how athletic she could be, but she was a little bit careless. It always seemed like she was too eager to do things, and it was a little bit dangerous. And just as she got better, here comes the new embargo of superstars. Naomi gets shoved to the side with Tamina, but she should get an opportunity.
I mean, while I agree, there's also that part of my brain that says Naomi kind of did it to herself, where she missed that opportunity. Because remember WrestleMania 30, where she kind of botched that spot and lost all momentum after that, where she was supposed to tap out, and AJ Lee basically had to take her hand and tap her out for her. Because that was supposed to be Naomi's big push. And then after that, they just kind of forgot about her. That, yeah. And now time has just kind of passed. It's kind of like the world has moved on. And, with all these NXT divas coming out.
The world has moved on.
It's very dramatic, but he has a point.
Mm-hmm. And all these divas, these superstars are coming up, and maybe she's just going to get lost in the wayside.
So what you're saying, Keith, is that she's not a may saying no. The theme song intro. That's keep going.
Just cue the sad
thank you for the question,
for Naomi.
Thank you for the question. Our final question of the show comes from Ahmed M, who asks, following No Way Jose's debut on NXT, and let's talk about that for a minute. How many times have you gotten rejected?
What?
I don't see the A to B there, but I really wanted to bring this up because have you watched NXT this week, Juan? I know you haven't, Ryan. But...
Well, you're not wrong.
No Way Jose. No Way Jose. Let's talk about No Way Jose.
Have I watched NXT this week? No way, Jose.
Whoa. Okay, so this No Way Jose, there was a video package where the song, have you seen any of the video packages, Ryan? Because if not, I can sing the song.
I've seen it scrolling through Facebook, but that means I didn't have the audio on, so I haven't heard the theme.
So the whole song is just picture this deep bassy disco, like a techno track, and they just say, no way, Jose, no way, Jose. And that's the whole song.
That's it.
That is it.
Is it shorter than Sonny Siaki's theme?
Wow, that's a throwback. It's getting there. So his whole character is that he's a Hispanic guy that likes to dance, and he's not a small guy, and he seems athletic and charismatic, but he falls into that category of, has WWE not learned that dancing gimmicks don't work? I guess not.
They have their place, and it's very low on the card.
But in the name, because I thought it was going to be Jose, right? And they were going to play up to No Way Jose. His name is actually No Way Jose.
It's everything I love and everything I hate about wrestling all rolled up into this one beautiful ball. It's just so dumb, but it's so great.
Okay, so the second part of the question now.
How many times have you gotten rejected? Well, in the name of not making this a 3-hour podcast, let's just say a lot. Sometimes you need to crash and burn before you can succeed. And boy, there has been some crashes, and my lord, has there been some burns.
Yep, there's been a good amount. Damn it, Chispy.
Yes.
But the moral of the story is you always succeed in the end.
It's true.
Man.
Sorta, maybe.
And Juan, you just got married.
Yeah,
So.
and honestly, my answer has to sort of be no. Like,
Boo.
I mean, honestly, like, I never got rejected, so I can't really say that. I'm amazing. I'm like Naomi.
Well, look at you.
Exactly. Like, I'm wearing a Hawaiian shirt while we're recording the podcast. So, how much more amazing can I get than that?
Juan, I reject you.
Yes, I reject that answer.
Keith, we slept in the same room for multiple days.
This is getting pretty heavy.
We shared a bathroom. We woke up to David Otunga's theme.
Multiple times. Your mom was there.
It was.
Wow.
It was a weird weekend in Miami, folks.
Let's end the show. We better end it right now. You know what? I'm going into it.
Just think about that. Juan's never been rejected, folks.
Before this becomes Byte That After Dark, we want to thank you guys for tuning to another edition of the podcast. As always, check out our extra content over at youtube.com/Byte That Cast. We just put up a video about WWE Supercard. So go over, check that out. Of course, you can check out our social media. Twitter @Byte That Cast. Instagram, just search Byte That. And we have our Facebook, facebook.com/Byte That Cast. Now, if you really, really like hearing me and Keith's voices, I should say, and you happen to be a fan of Hearthstone,
Omnicron.
you can check out 3 hours of content. So if you want to fall asleep to our soothing voices, there is 3 hours of content of me and Keith predicting Hearthstone cards for the new expansion that just came out today, actually, as of this recording. You can go over to my personal channel, which I just opened up, youtube.com/RMM342M as in McNulty. So if you want to check that out, go for it, and open to any feedback. So without further ado, that is the end of the show. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week.